College football was taken by storm, not necessarily in a good way, with the Texas Tech saga. And now that it's over and the Sorsby situation seems to be just smoldering now and not so bad anymore as a fire that it was, what are we going to move to next? Will Hammond seems to be a potential thing to talk about. Is he an upgrade if he hits on all the marks over Brendan Sorsby? That's a conversation. And what are Texas Tech fans so upset about? We're going to get into all that as well. Welcome into College Sports Insiders. My name is Mountaineer Paul, alongside Jackson Johnson. We are your team here, and appreciate you guys for joining in as we dive into another episode here, talking more Texas Tech on this one. We do plan to cover other topics, but this one seems to be a pretty good one to cover these days, as it has taken, as we said earlier, college football by storm. We have a special guest today who is going to provide insight and hopefully some clarity on some issues that I have kind of jotted down as I feel like, from my perspective, Red Raider fans may take issue with from how they feel. But we're going to get to the Hammond stuff first. Red Raider Wire is an awesome organization that does a lot of great stuff with Texas Tech. This is a columnist for them, Andrew McCleary. Thank you for joining the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. We talked off camera. We where the traps are laid, the bodies are buried, as Rich Rodriguez would say. We're not trying to gotcha here. It's all out in the open. We're just going to talk about it. But I want to start with kind of where we're leaving off with Sorsby. Obviously, you pivot to Will Hammond, and we saw the talent. We see the running ability. There's a lot with him to be excited about. You look at what he was coming out. He's a sophomore, 6'2", 210. He's out of Austin, a kid that was a consensus 4-star kid, a top 25 quarterback, one of the top overall quarterbacks in the state of Texas. He had his pick of the litter: Auburn, Oregon, Penn State, Texas A&M. And I get some Bo Nix vibes from him. What is your feeling from your side? If he hits on all the marks, obviously this is projection. Can Will Hammond be a Sorsby upgrade in some senses, or at least as good?
Oh, he absolutely can be as good. There's no doubt about it. Anyone who watched the Utah game, that second half of the Utah game, is the ceiling for Will Hammond. Here's a guy. Bo Nix is a great comparison. I would say Will Hammond has a little bit more gunslinger in him than Bo Nix did in college. But when he's hitting that back foot in stride, letting that ball fly, he can be very accurate down the field. His legs are an absolute weapon. Even in that Arizona State loss, his legs were a big reason why he kept Texas Tech in the game down the stretch there. But there are also moments that we've seen with Will Hammond where he's very inaccurate as a passer so far. That could just be a situation where he's just not getting consistent game reps, not his own fault. Morton's health over the last 2 years with him on campus has just been something he's had to deal with. And before he tore his ACL last year against Oklahoma State, he was in line to be the starter. He was going to be the starter heading into the 2026 season, undisputed. It was his team. So his coaching staff believes in him. The players believe in him. The fans have seen enough glimpses of him to know that when he's firing on all cylinders, he is going to lead this team exactly where they were last year, and that's to a Big 12 championship.
Jackson?
Yeah, and I was going to ask, though, because last season, Texas Tech won the Big 12, right? And I know that everybody is saying, like, oh, Texas Tech's not the favorite anymore. But I don't know. I kind of feel like Texas Tech is fine still. Because, the schedule looks pretty good, though. How are you feeling about a repeat of the Big 12 title, Andrew?
You have to feel great if you're Texas Tech, not just from Will Hammond's perspective. The schedule is very manageable. The thing with Hammond specifically is his best case scenario to come back is week 3 against Houston. Houston projects to be the toughest draw on the Red Raiders schedule this year, but it is a home game in Lubbock. It got moved to a Friday night. Ask Cody Campbell and even Houston, for that matter, how they feel about playing a Friday night game in Texas. Story for another day. But the roster is still loaded. They've got multiple NFL draft picks on their offensive line, a couple other guys who were previous all-conference players before they transferred into Tech. The defense reloaded once again. Bryce Pollock is back after last year. They've got guys who are trying to plug the holes of Romello Height, Lee Hunter, David Bailey, and
you go ahead and say it, the greatest defensive line in Big 12 history. One of the greatest.
They were loaded, and they've reloaded again with some guys who are all conference players. And then the linebacking core is still stacked. So this is a team. We're gonna use Vegas odds here. They're still basically a coin flip favorite to win the Big 12, with BYU being the next favorite at around plus 600. So you still feel very good. Oh, let's not forget they have a stable full of running backs that's probably the best in the country. Cameron Dickey, Jacoby Williams, and then we had USC starting running back transfer to Texas Tech, was in line to be the starting running back until he got hurt going into camp in the fall. So this roster is still very much loaded, and without a ton of landmines on the schedule, it should be Big 12 title game or bust for the Red Raiders again.
Yeah, I obviously that's no doubt the case, and with the talent that you guys have, I'm curious. Is the style of the offense going to change with Will Hammond rather than Sorsby? I mean, they're both similar players, right? Sorsby is a very good runner. Hammond, clearly a great runner. But, you can't be as free passing a team, I guess, with Hammond yet. Sorsby would have come in and likely been a guy that could drop back 50 times, right? Because of his experience level. Seems to be the only thing, standing between potentially a Hammond being on a Sorsby. Like by the end of next year, we could look at this and say, yeah, he was as good or better. How quickly do you think you guys are going to be able to open it up with him? And obviously you've got that strong running game to lean on.
Yeah, I would suspect they will lean heavily on that run game early on because, again, even if he comes back against Houston, you're talking about someone who's making a full recovery off an ACL tear in less than a year. So the idea that he's just going to be able to hit the ground running week 3 against a very good Houston team,
right?
Very, very, very much could be a Big 12 title game preview that Friday night in Lubbock.
That Sam Houston game, or the game after it's a sneaky game, right? I don't know how good they're going to be this year, but I mean, they've had some years where they've been a sneaky good team that could pull off an upset. I doubt this in this case, but you don't want to overlook them. But yeah, your schedule's clearly, I think I saw Phil Steele put out the easiest in the league, right? And most people would say, so the path is there. You guys didn't pick the schedule. It is what it is. The West Virginia game to me obviously is of a special note, and you guys have absolutely destroyed us 2 years in a row. And this comes on the heels of us kind of owning the series for a while. And unfortunately, man, obviously we lost to your backup quarterback there a couple times as well, which was interesting. But in the early beginnings of the Big 12, when we first got in the Big 12, we won this game a lot. You guys have totally flipped the series around, though, in your favor. I'll be curious. Obviously by the time that game comes around, we're going to know whether West Virginia is as good as some of us think they can be or not. I'm not saying Big 12 championship contender, but there are some of us that think that West Virginia can be an 8 or 9 win team. We'll see if that gets to that situation. But, I'm especially interested in that game this year. And have you had a chance to look in on the Mountaineers any?
Not a ton. I do remember last year I did like the change in quarterback midway through the season. I mean, I know Rich Rod is still in the midst of a pretty big overhaul here, even in year 2. In college football today, you don't get 4 years. The reality is, if you don't show progress after year 2, you're not gonna show progress anymore. You can flip rosters, you can get things going in a hurry. So I think you guys should improve. I think 8 wins might be a little aggressive because there's so much continuity that has to come in, specifically like line play and what Rich Rod wants to do specifically on offense. You've got to have a cohesive offensive line that's really firing on all cylinders, for his system to go. But I do think you guys have an answer at quarterback. It's just about everything else coming together around him. at this point.
Oh, there we are. Oh, you're muted, Paul.
I did two things there at once. Really quick, we'll get back on the Texas Tech here in a second. I will say, just in response from a West Virginia fan's perspective, obviously, I cover the team every day, so it's my job to do that. I will say this: this is going to be the best offensive line we've had in probably. I think it'll be better than the one we had in 2023 with Zach Frazier, Wyatt Milam, and Doug Nestor. We're all on NFL teams right now.
Okay.
We're not singularly more talented, but the sheer amount of depth and talent that we brought in, he brought in 6 starters.
Yeah.
Dropped almost $5 million on the offensive line alone. And then they brought in the greatest O-line coach, or one of the 2 or 3 greatest in the sport, in Rick Trickett, a guy that obviously he's won a couple of national championships as a offensive line coach and put over 50 guys in the NFL. So those 3 things, and obviously they were together for Rich Rod's first run. And so here they are again. They're both older now, but they're still getting those same results. And, so we feel good about the Mountaineers offensive line this year. We think it's going to be the strongest thing on the entire team by a long stretch. And we've heard many people say it's light years better, obviously. And how could you be worse than last year? So we do think that's why we feel pretty good about it with the nation's leading rusher in Cam Cook, alongside Mike Hawkins Jr., a guy that can run 4.3. I think Rich Rod's going to be able to Rich Rod this year on offense. We're going to be exciting at least. But thanks for letting me get that out there really quick.
No worries. Of course.
Really quick before you jump back in, Jackson, we'll move on from Hammond to these other topics that we can get into. I'll be interested to see because, I think the schedule lines up so good for you guys. It could be a scenario where you guys come to Morgantown undefeated. I mean, the only challenges you really have are potentially Arizona State, Houston, maybe Oklahoma State, but I mean, that's after West Virginia.
Do not sleep on Eric Morris, man. I would not overlook Oklahoma State. I get they were bad last year. Look, Eric Morris and Drew Mestamaker coming in from UNT, like similar to what you just said about West Virginia, Oklahoma State should be entertaining to watch. Are they going to win 8 or 9 games? I don't think they're going to be that good. I absolutely think they should be a bowl team in year 1 under Morris. So yeah, it'll be a tricky spot for sure.
And Neil Brown takes over a really stable program there in Denton, and the word on the street is they've got a lot of talent. They lucked out. They got the UCF quarterback from last year and Jaheim White. They've literally got a starting Big 12 quarterback and a starting Big 12 running back there. I mean, that's a great start for Coach Brown. I wish he could have done that when he was in Morgantown. Unfortunately, we were always less talented than most, except for our offensive line with a couple of years. Jackson, what other questions you have on this topic?
I am curious to see, with Will Hammond, how many touchdowns could you see him throw for 2026? Because I'm looking at a 25 to 30 passes for touchdowns.
So if let's assume he comes back week 3, so that gives him 9 games to play in the regular season. He absolutely is capable of throwing in that 25 to 30 touchdown range. He's got probably the nation's best tight end. He's coming back from last year. One name to pay attention to in the receiving corps is Micah Hudson. So at the time Micah Hudson signed with the Red Raiders, he was the highest ranked recruit the program had ever signed. It was the first 5-star the program had ever signed. A lot of things didn't work out his freshman year. He transferred to A&M and then came back to Texas Tech after the spring semester, spent time on the team last year, really kind of just earning his spot again. The coaching staff didn't really go into why necessarily. He just had problems kind of getting off the ground, but it sounds like he's finally developing. He's clicking. So Micah Hudson's a name to pay attention to in terms of the receiving corps, but he's going to have options to throw the ball to. He's going to have time to throw the ball. I expect him to take a step. This is his 3rd year on campus. It's his, Mac Leftwich, our offensive coordinator. He can draw it up. He can dial it up. He knows Hammond very well. I expect big things from Hammond, assuming he stays healthy.
Let's shift gears here, guys. We'll do a quick 4-second intermission here. Just come right back. It just gives us a break in the action to restart again. But I want to get into some serious topics here with Red Raider Nation. As I've heard the complaints, I've logged the complaints. I'm going to ask Andrew flat out, what are you guys so upset about? We'll talk about that next. Back with Andrew McCleary. Appreciate you for being here, brother. I think this is going to be an interesting season nonetheless, but I think a lot of people are left with the question, what now after this saga? And you detailed it perfectly off camera before coming into the show. The straw that broke the camel's back was Brendan Sorsby. On the top of a lot of these questions I'm going to ask you, I'll throw a couple at you here, and then you can just tackle them. Because I think Texas Tech fans feel like that you mostly did what you were asked to do. You took the mantle. Brett Yormark challenged the schools, and you guys took the mantle to compete nationally and made yourself into a brand. Whether it's old money, new money, what have you, you opened your wallet, you invested in recruiting facilities and coaching and the roster, and everybody hates you now because you're spending that money. It's almost like you're being gaslit in a sense, right? And so the complaints have all come in after Sorsby. And I think a lot of Texas Tech fans feel like Sorsby is an excuse to hate you for all these other things now, and they can just do it openly because it's cool now, right? And I'm curious, do you feel like you're getting blamed for exposing problems that everybody else exploits?
Oh, certainly. I mean, college football from a we'll call it a rules standpoint has been broken for a long time now. This is just the easiest place to gang up because Sorsby's situation specifically was the one thing that across the board, all sports fans can agree on. You can't bet on, first off, you can't bet on the sport you're playing. Secondly, you cannot bet on the team that you are on when you are making the bets. Like, that is as clear a line of demarcation that everyone can get around. So it became very easy to take all of the issues a lot of other programs feel that they have specifically because they aren't playing by the new rules that are in place, and just kick Texas Tech while they're down.
Jackson, you got any thoughts on all this? I know you've been watching Texas Tech fans and how upset they've been, and you can take issue with it as well if you'd like. If you have problems with what they did, you go there.
Well, I mean, like, honestly, like I did laugh when I had like the post response to like, y'all got FanDuel as your ads is like, oh, well, you got me there at like Voice College Football, where it's like, you got me there. But it was funny though, which I got a laugh out of it, like, actually. But it's like some people are going to defend their team, some people aren't. And you know what? It's like right now, Texas Tech's the ultimate evil villain, but Net State's going to be another team. So it's just the way the world goes around. Lane
Kiffin still exists. Like it won't take long for Lane to take the number one villain spot back in college football. I have no doubt. But one thing, Paul, you brought up about Yormark asking the conference members to like step up to the plate. We can all agree sports across the board is better when there are 1 to 2, maybe 3 or 4 teams that are clearly always the target team. You need a flag-bearing team for your conference. You just have to. You need top-heavy teams who can compete for national championships, specifically in college football. And Texas Tech has done all the things to get there at this point. So the commissioner, the team that finally stepped up is answering his call to elevate the perception of his league, stepped on a landmine that is the one that you really can't defend. Texas Tech needed to defend Sorsby. Absolutely. They needed to have his back throughout that whole situation. If a judge in Lubbock County simply doesn't grant an injunction, we're not here. Everyone assumed he wasn't going to play this year already. the judge would have said no. None of this bad PR Texas Tech would have received over the last week and a half would have ever happened. But it did. Certainly, Texas Tech learned a lot from it. They still are providing Sorsby with the support that he needs. So it was not some sort of sham to get him to play again. This is a young man who has a real issue, came clean about it in the court documents. So yeah, Texas Tech felt like they were being attacked when they were trying to stand by someone who has an actual addiction. And, you know, everyone's favorite whataboutism stance started showing up because we can look around all college football and see plenty of programs that have not so great records off the field and programs that continue to just keep playing football and win games, and it's not a big deal. So, yeah, they took it pretty personally when they felt like any other school would have done the exact same thing.
So my only problem, really, I don't have a problem with you guys supporting the kid at all, not even a little bit. I felt like that was a pretty obvious thing to do. I think for me is, you know, I can't fault you for supporting the kid. I just didn't feel like football was the thing. And I get it. He may not have even played. Like that was something that some people brought up, like after week 2, there was no guarantee he was going to have to earn this thing back. And that's where my problems lie, because as somebody who's in recovery, and I bring this up a lot, but it is true, and I know what it takes to truly, you'll never conquer addiction, unfortunately, but you can manage it, just like most things. And people have it's definitely a polarizing topic. There are some people that think that addiction is something that you're just too mentally weak to figure out, right? So I get it. Like there are some people that live on different ends of the spectrum with this, but I know from experience, and there's no way with a serious addiction that he would have been ready anytime than the next year. Like they suggest pet, plant, person, you know, before you ever do anything else. You start with a pet, a plant. If you can survive with that plant, you move on to a pet. If you can survive with that pet, then you move on to a person. That's before you even get into relationships with other people, much less playing football with all the pressures that were being thrown at this kid. And I do think that this probably exacerbated some of those issues that he was already having, and with the family too, right? Like, so I do think that the best interests were at heart, but I think misguided at the same time, personally.
Agreed.
And those are the problems I had with it. Was I feel like there are people here, maybe not everybody, but there are people here that eventually want this kid to play football. And that was where my issues kind of were. What do you think about that?
No, I think you have probably the position most people had, and Texas Tech would have put this fire out immediately if it was, we recognize his injunction. He's still not going to come back and play football until he's actually ready to play football. They could have got ahead of that, like from the jump. Giving a 21-minute roundtable video for the world to see. Right. I'm not a PR guy. Probably not the best way to go about it, only because who's going to watch a 21-minute video who doesn't have a vested interest? Right. You're not getting
that
the messaging
kind of told
there.
Me that it was a losing battle behind the scenes right there. It's like if you're lining up a 20-minute PR video, that means you're losing, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I think, mistakes were made. It's just, unfortunately, the stakes were so high. There are some people weren't going to forgive some of those mistakes, right? Yeah. You want to finish what you're about to say there, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, college football is a big business, man. Like, it's a huge business. There's a lot on the line here. It's easy to get your shots off on Cody Campbell. Like, here's a proud booster who has been at the forefront of helping raise a ton of money, give his own money. Cody gets all the attention. There are a lot of deep money boosters who have invested heavily. There's a man who's got 2 buildings with his name on them at Texas Tech who has invested very heavily there. So, it's easy to get your shots off on him. But the reality is, like, this is a massive business. And the business is going to try to succeed at all costs. We have seen that through the history of college football. None of that excuses what Sorsby did, nor does it excuse the university from saying, hey, we recognize this. We're going to get him help. He's not going to play until we feel he is healthy to play again. But again, no one's found themselves in this situation. Texas Tech is not going to be the last school that deals with this. These are 18 to 22-year-olds, 18 to 23-year-olds. I don't know about you guys. I made a lot of mistakes when I was that age. When I was at Texas Tech during that time frame in my life, made plenty of mistakes. Fortunately, none of them, cost me anything severe. But they're going to make mistakes. If you can place bets on your phone in your pocket, and guys who have substantial money, life-changing money now in their pockets after coming out of high school, this is going to happen again. So
yeah, and that's a great point.
Yeah, a lot of universities better taking some notes here on how to handle this because it's going to happen again.
Yeah, great point. It's like the old joke, the guy, the here's your sign guy, right? He would say, the reason that sign is here is because sometimes some nut, sometime in the past, did something stupid for that warning sign to be there. And in a sense, Texas Tech is living through that. You may not have did something stupid in that sense, but like basically you're the warning sign because of what you guys went through. But yeah, so that guy was funny. By the way, since you guys do have such a generous booster, perhaps we could have Clifford Jones. I'm just saying, like we would take him. We have Ken Kendrick. He owns the Diamondbacks, but he cares about baseball more than everything else, which is why our baseball team was so good this past year.
When are y'all going to rally Brad Paisley to start throwing some of that country music money?
He's a big West Virginia fan.
Wait and see.
Pat McAfee, actually, truly, to be honest with you, is the only person I could see going to a Cody Campbell level of.
Oh, for sure.
Because if I had the money that Cody Campbell did, I would be similar to him as a booster. Mm-hmm. Like I would be probably overly involved. People would probably be telling me I was crazy, like to the tune of probably $100 million. I don't know how much I would give, but I do think McAfee can eventually be that for us. He's not worked quite to a Cody Campbell level yet, but I mean, $60 million a year from ESPN coming up is a pretty good start. And we do have deep pocketed boosters. It's not like we don't, but I just, probably not going to get to a Tech. Coal money is great, but it's not around anymore, right?
You're right. And oil money is real good. Oil money is real good. And there are plenty of alumni from Texas Tech in that Permian Basin who have ties to that industry, and they have mobilized in a big way.
What do you think about the couple things here? I've seen a few Texas Tech fans say here recently that the Big 12 has a fixed ceiling. So do you feel like that is how can I put this? Do you feel like you guys are doing what Utah did, and some of your fans maybe like, okay, Utah came in hot and kind of seemed like they got big for their britches quick in all these demands they made. Do you think some Texas Tech fans are doing that as well with this bravado, or do you just own it?
So let me answer your first question. Do I think the Big 12 has a fixed ceiling? It does right now because they need to go win football games against teams not in the Big 12. They absolutely need to do that. And the quickest way the Big 12 ceiling gets shattered is for BYU to beat Notre Dame this year. That'll change the perception of the Big 12.
They're capable
instantly. Oh yeah, they're absolutely capable.
And they have a similar level of investment as you guys. Not quite as good, but I think it's the numbers aren't known because they're religious, right? So it's different.
So yeah, I do think there is currently a fixed ceiling, and winning bowl games is not going to change the perception. It's just not. Bowl games, we've seen what they've turned into. Yes, it is unfortunate, but that's the reality. And that's one of the big things driving playoff expansion, because you want more teams playing more meaningful football at the end of the season. But so they got to start winning games against like Arizona State can't be losing to Mississippi State like it did last year. Okay. Those are the types of things the Big 12 has to do. Baylor needed to beat Auburn last year. Okay. You guys need to keep winning the backyard brawl. I know it's just against an ACC team, but like those are the things that you have to.
It's going to be pretty good this year.
Yeah.
Pitt's going to be good this year. I wish we played them this year.
That whole thing about not scheduling, I think that's over with now that Sorsby's out. So it's like, I think that's over with.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all got enough time to talk about calling Texas Tech schedule out, but the reality is the Big 12.
We were going to get there.
Too.
That's going to be the next thing.
I lined up another thing at this time, apparently. I was like, good grief.
Yeah, they've got to win. And like, look, Texas Tech making the playoffs last year was great for everyone. Putting up a goose egg against Oregon only confirmed in everyone else's mind the ceiling of the Big 12 because, like, oh, here's your champ. Can't even score a point in the first opening round playoff game. So they've got to perform on the biggest stages. Like that's got to be the first thing to change. 2, is it bravado Texas Tech has about similar to Utah? Possibly, but it's just because Texas Tech's been here longer. No one views it the same way they viewed Utah coming in. Utah had plenty of Pac-12 championships under their belt. They came in, just expecting to just pick up where they left off. And for the most part, Utah's been very competitive. Like they're right there. It's not like they've had some big, drop off. So, but look, man, like when you start feeling good about your team, bravado shows, man. And there's no doubt about it. Like, and I would think there's an element for Texas Tech fans specifically. They were down for so long. I mean, so long. Before McGuire got there, they went years before being ranked in the top 25. Years. So it's just miserable, middle of the road football. The best thing they had between Leach and the last couple of years at Tech was Cliff when he had Mahomes there, and they had the worst defense college football had ever seen. So Mahomes was not doing more than just winning 7-8 games while they were there. So they're riding this wave. They're willing to crash with this crazy train whenever it crashes, but all signs are pointing to that this is a sustainable thing that they're on. So why not puff your chest a little bit?
I don't have a problem with that. I think it's we want to be out of the league talk that bothers me more than
well,
you know what I mean? I understand it as a West Virginia fan. Like, part of me wishes we were in the ACC even to this day because of the regionality of it. That's all.
Sure.
Like absolutely. I love the Big 12 we fit so many different metrics with the Big 12 as far as the towns are so similar and all these things we get into. But would I rather be in the ACC if everything else was equal? Yeah, of course. Would I rather be in the SEC? Am I pissed that it was down to us in Missouri and Missouri got in over us in the SEC? Yes, I am. If West Virginia ever started winning at a rate that Texas Tech is right now, would West Virginia fans say we wanted to go to the SEC now? Yes, they would. So like I understand that we would do that. But I also understand that it's annoying when somebody else does. And it's not you.
That's
so
right.
Envy is a weird thing, man. So I always say I don't care, even with politics. I don't care if it's left, right. I just want the truth, and then I'll make a decision, whether it aligns with whatever it aligns with. That's just how I operate. Not everybody does, So, but yeah, I just thought that was just logging complaints here. That was one that I'd saw. To the schedule part of this, though, I will say, unfortunately, I don't feel like we got to bask in the glory of the one-uppance of Joey McGuire over Steve Sarkisian. That was, you talked about it. That was the fun part of the offseason.
It was, man. And for as bad as the PR was that Texas Tech just went through, they were hitting PR home runs when Sark set them up because they walked into a situation that they were absolutely going to win unless Texas, for whatever reason, decided to change their schedule and put Tech on the schedule and play them and beat them. That's the only way.
That was never going to happen, was it?
No, never. No chance. So credit to McGuire, credit to everybody at Texas Tech for basically putting on a full court press and just grabbing every reason for people to pile on Texas, because Texas is such a lovable program. Why would people
so
want
lovable.
to? Yes.
Yeah.
Why would people want to talk any noise about the University of Texas? So it was fun. I mean, it was great. McGuire owned it. Sark's come on a couple other platforms and clarified his comments, and didn't think he was going to turn into that, but he didn't shy away from it by any means.
No, listen, Sark's got some confidence about him too, and
Sark's got a good team, man, and I think
got a good team.
Yep.
There's no guarantee. You couldn't say Texas Tech would win that game. You can't say Texas would. Like it would be it might be a pick 'em if you played that game, right? Both are top 10 teams. Let's just say that. You can debate top 5, but like both are definitely top 10 teams, 15 if you want to stretch it out. But so certainly, I think that would be look, I think we all realize that you could almost monetize that one game for both universities and just, like sell it to TNT or something like,
sure.
We're just going to separate this one thing like a pay-per-view, event and see how many sales we get on it. And it would have sold how many people live in Texas?
Oh, as the saying goes, it would have fed families for generations. There's no doubt
Absolutely.
about it. I guarantee you, Jerry Jones, if he would have heard that game was up for bid, would have called immediately to bring both teams from Lubbock and Austin to his palace in Dallas and play the game there. And that place would be, you'd have 90,000, 95,000 people there at that game. There's no doubt about it.
So obviously it's funny because Sark wasn't wrong about your schedule. That was another part. I thought was funny, but
no, it wasn't.
It's like losing argument still though.
Yeah, no, he absolutely was not wrong. I mean, if you want to line up Texas's schedule next to Texas Tech's schedule, it is the definition of night and day difference. But yeah, man, when you want to take a shot at someone's schedule in the absolute dullest time of the offseason with nothing else going on, that's what happened. Now, if he would have said this at SEC Media Days, it wouldn't have even had 24 hours to live, because next round of coaches would have came up. Somebody would have said something, especially with Lane Kiffin in his own conference. Like, there's no doubt there would have been new talking points. But because of the timing, he gave Red Raider fans a nice chance to jump in and get some free hypothetical wins against Texas.
Yeah. So just to kind of summarize some things, because I wanted to ask you I don't know how long you have, but a couple of basketball questions. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
summarize I'll just summarize all the things that I kind of laid out. Texas Tech fans feel like we invested, we recruited, we followed the commissioner's vision, right? We became ambitious. The conference still has the ceiling, sir. So what are we doing about that? The national media now doesn't respect us and are laughing at us at every turn. Other big tools, 12 teams now resent us. It feels like 15 versus 1. And when one controversy happened, everybody acted like we've been the villain all along. Whether you agree with that or not, that's the mindset that most Texas Tech fans have, as well as I would imagine those inside the walls. So, any other things, like, is this a savable situation? Is there anything that the Big 12 can do? Because let's just be honest, we felt like the Big 12 was pretty tight knit up until this, and now we seem shaky. Because this caused a situation where the ACC may think they can pounce, or do you think that no? At the end of the day, the damage has been done here, but it's not like the Big 10 and the SEC are giving out full free invites for places to come join, right? Like, it would take a situation of realignments happening again, and we have to go through all that. But outside of that, it's not like Cody Campbell's going to be like, here, you're independent now, or something crazy like that. But do you think something insane like that's on the table? I mean, he seems vindictive enough to do something like that if it really came down to it, like if he was really angry enough.
No, I don't think so. The reality is Texas Tech, just like a lot of programs in that, we'll call it middle third of college football, of all your Power 4 teams, your non-traditional blue bloods, they're spending the next 5-ish, 6-ish years positioning themselves for what I believe is an inevitable break-off and a super league forms of like 30 to 40 teams across the country. So and not to mention all the TV deals are locked up for the next handful of years as well. So I think that's a big part of it too. I don't think, everyone's pretty burned right now. A lot of chafage going on right now. I don't think it's unsalvageable. I think once the games get going and we start spotting the ball, toe meets leather, helmets start colliding, like this will start to smooth out eventually. I will be interested to see what happens the next time a Big 12 school runs into a significant controversy, and just how the league reacts around it. But this is a situation where just some time is going to need to pass, and I think cooler heads will eventually prevail here.
Yeah, I think time, actually, just exactly right. Time just has to pass. We'll probably look at this in a year and say both sides made some mistakes here. And, if Tech wins another Big 12, I mean, you guys will have the last laugh, right? If you don't win, though, similarly, you guys are you're gonna eat some crow probably, but it's gonna be what it is, whatever happens, right?
For sure.
That's what happens when you put your neck out there.
That's right.
Well, we're hoping you guys. I'm not rooting against you guys. I want you guys to be good when we play you this year as a West Virginia fan, and I would love to beat you and upset you. I think that would be great for our program. Wins like that are what we need, and I'm curious how you feel about this. As somebody that's, I don't know how much you paid attention to West Virginia over the years, like before the Big 12 came around, but do you think if West Virginia could get back to a winning like they were, in
the Big East?
In the Big East, yeah. Do you think we could potentially get that kind of brand power back?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not, man. Like I've seen the West Virginia fan base. I mean, when West Virginia was in the Big East, I'm in my formative years growing up. West Virginia football found me in the state of Texas. Okay. So there's no reason to think that if West Virginia got this thing rolling, they could pick up some serious steam here. Certainly, we think of the Big East days of you guys and Miami and just, what that was, for people old enough to understand that. I do get it's a different landscape now, and geography, really just doesn't matter, for lack of a better term. It's just where the dollars go. Do I think specifically in the micro for you guys with Rich Rod, can he run it back? I think Rich Rod can get things going again, only because Rich Rod has been doing a lot of college football coaching. It's not like you guys plucked him off, his couch doing TV.
Yeah, he literally just took a team from D2 to D1 and was the best team in the conference.
Right.
3 years.
I do got faith that Rich Rod will get it going there. I just don't know how quickly it'll happen for West Virginia at this point.
It's funny. You made up a great point before. I think it was earlier. Josh Pate actually talked about this, which I was grateful he did. If you look at West Virginia on paper from last year to this year, it looks almost exactly the same. It looks like they had the same offseason 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. The only difference is last year, Rich Rod and company got hired in December and obviously had to throw that thing together in the second portal window with no high school recruiting class at all. Mm-hmm. And now they've had a year to plan this, and they had a top 15 recruiting class and a top 20 portal class. And so, yes, the numbers are the same, but the quality of talent is vastly better. And I think that's where the difference lies. And I'm thankful Josh Pate said that, because it verbalized it for me, for a way for me to put it, because I was struggling with how to explain it as well. And that's the best way to explain it. The talent is just across the board. Penn State, what happened at Penn State was a big help to West Virginia, because you were able to flip the two best players in the entire state over to you, which will both start this year. Yes, they're young, but they're both very talented. One specifically is maybe the most talented freshman we've ever had. It's that good of a player in Kevin Brown. So we'll be hearing his name this year. But this ain't about us. It's about you. But I brand wise, I just want people to see, because what we just did in Omaha, if you paid attention, like we blew everybody out of the water. The atmosphere wise with our regional. Like it wasn't close. Like we blew everybody away. And I know we can do that, if we just ever get to the point to where enough people can care about West Virginia football is always going to sell out and sell. But if you want to talk about fandom, West Virginia football, when it's really good, is a religion. And much like in Texas, I would say. And so we'd love to see that again before it's too late, before who knows what happens to college football next. But before I get you out of here, obviously we want to talk a little Red Raider basketball. You guys had a crazy offseason, right? I mean, Petty goes to UCLA. Is that where he ended up?
Yeah.
That was a tough loss for you guys. LaJuan Watts obviously was a good player. He entered the portal. Bamboy, is that how you say his name?
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, VCU transfer to you guys. He was obviously you lost Horner, Groves, a couple other guys, but you bring in Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn. Obviously, West Virginia was neck and neck with you guys for him the whole way. We really wanted him. Cruz Davis, who I know very well out of Hofstra, is an absolute monster. One of the better shot creators out of the portal this year with that pick and roll ability he has. The three-point shooting is insane with him and Lawhorn both. Gives you an incredible situation in the front court. Obviously, Dennis from Cincinnati is one of those wings that, it's a McCaslin wing, right? The guy that can really defend, So how do you feel like the Texas Tech all season went for basketball? Do you think you guys can compete in the Big 12 this year? And, how familiar are you with and this is a lot of questions, and I apologize if it's too much, but how familiar are you with the McCaslin-Ross Hodge relationship?
So their relationship is not one that I'm real familiar with. But I'll tell you this, and I would think I speak for most of Red Raider Nation here. It's just a simple, like, in McCaslin we trust situation.
Makes sense.
When Beard came through and got Texas Tech to a national championship game, 17 seconds away from a national championship against UVA, excuse me. It was hard to. It was. It was hard to think after he left for Texas that the basketball team could ever be that again. Like, just didn't think it was possible.
By the way, mistake by him to leave. It's obvious now.
Clearly. But hey, you ask any Texas Tech fan, leaving for Texas is a mistake. Pretty simple there. Anyway, when they hired McCaslin, he had been doing some things, kind of similar, related to Eric Morris, earning his, really getting some teams playing at a high level at a smaller school. But when he came in, man, he completely transformed that place. It really, the vibe around the program has been tremendous. Even comparing it to when Beard was there, there's just something different in the building now with him running that program. And the sustained success he's had in the tournament year after year now being there, I think it just proves like this guy knows who he wants to go find in the portal to plug whatever holes he needs to, and he's going to get them gelled and play at a high level throughout the whole year. So the pieces have changed a lot over the last 2 years, but the results have been there. And I don't think there's any reason why Red Raider fans should expect anything different by the time basketball season starts in the winter.
Yeah, McCaslin at Texas Tech, incredible over the last – you got 4 NCAA tournament wins over the last 2 years. That's a lot. That's more than most people can say. 3 in 1 year. Right. It takes a lot to do that.
Right. I mean, we had Bob Knight there and didn't have that kind of success in the tournament.
Right. 100%. You got so he at Texas Tech he's got would be a natty appearance, or not a natty. I'm sorry, not McCaslin. That's Beard. You've got an Elite Eight. You've got a second round, 2 first weekend exits, and another second round. Or 2 first round wins beyond that. I think something along those lines. I'm trying to remember. I follow the NCAA basketball religiously, but I think I'm in the realm of possibility somewhere in there.
His pinnacle was the Elite Eight. Which again, I think that was the moment of like, oh, we're in good hands again. Like we haven't been back there since, but it doesn't matter. Even this tournament, going out in the second round, it was like that was the ceiling, and he reached it. Maybe a Sweet 16 appearance, but anyone who had followed the team knew like this was a good team. A Sweet 16 appearance was about as far as his team could go. So the fact that he got them to the second round, it's just like, hey man, this guy's going to coach whatever roster he has to their absolute ceiling every year.
And it was obvious that he was, obviously when North Texas beat Purdue, when they were the fourth seed, North Texas was a 13 seed. I think that's when a lot of us knew, okay, this guy can coach pretty good, because Matt Painter is another guy that's as consistent as anybody else in the sport.
Right.
And definitely in the top 5. So, I think McCaslin's obviously there, and all the things that he said about Ross Hodge have come to be true. I would never, you could have never told me that West Virginia would have the incredible recruiting success that they've had to get Miles Sadler, to get, I mean, I never would have guessed we would get a 5-star like Sadler, and to get his teammates that are all 4-star players to come with him. And, the portal success as well has been immense. It was a skeptical hire at first. He had 2 years of experience in North Texas. That was it. And no NCAA appearances. And Rem Baker took a big shot because of McCaslin in that relationship.
Right.
Obviously, and all those coaches that came out, some people thought it was a PR move by West Virginia, but McCaslin and all these guys came out, and said how good of a coach Hodge was. And he is very much like McCaslin in a lot of ways. So philosophy-wise, to the way they kind of run their programs with some of the religious overtones to them, and, that kind of thing. So, I respect McCaslin a lot. Obviously, think he's one of the best in the sport. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do this year with the new roster. Dre Gibbs Lawhorn will score 20 a game probably. That kid can play. I love that kid.
Right.
West Virginia was close to getting him, but they're just that money, man. It's tough to beat Texas Tech money. So give me real quick before I get you out of here, then give me an outlook on the football season as far as, do you think you guys go undefeated? I mean, do you think you slip up one time? Because at most, or at best, I would imagine, or at worst, you're probably going to lose 1, maybe 2 games.
Yeah, I would not project anything more than 1 loss. I don't view this team as bulletproof yet.
That's fair.
One year of like big time success, again, with an absolute insane amount of talent across the defensive line. I mean, that defensive line, I've never enjoyed watching defensive line football so much in my life, because
last year's D-line.
Yes, I think we had to call 6 blitzes all year last year. I mean, being a little dramatic there, but the idea that this team is just going to pick up again,
right,
where they left off, is they're not there yet. They're close. If you look at their high school recruiting, they have continued to elevate the high school recruiting. McGuire signed a top 20 class this last year. He's in line to sign a top 5 class for 2027. And
capitalize on that success.
Yeah. So they're close. They're getting there. If this schedule shows up in 2 years, 12-0. I don't blink about it. But I think 11-1's probably where they fall. The Big 12 has capable teams. Inevitably, someone is going to be better than they're not supposed to, than no one thought they would be. Again, Oklahoma State is the game I would be most worried about tripping up.
Interesting.
The Houston game, the crowd's going to be jacked up, man. It's in Lubbock. Houston was not competitive with us last year, and Houston was a good team last year.
So they weren't with us either. We dominated them, and we were really bad.
So I'm not worried about the Houston, and it's a nationally televised game. They're going to want to make a statement. That's not the one I'm worried about. I do think the Oklahoma State game gives plenty of reason to be worried. And the last thing Red Raider fans would want to see is a Red Raider alum on the other sideline giving them their one loss of the season. And
Oh no.
a one loss in the Big 12 this year could be an issue. Don't know that for sure, but typically 11-1 with only one loss in conference will get you to the title game. But I wouldn't feel great about it. But if they lose any of their non-conference games, they wouldn't go 11-1 anyway. So the expectations are high. They should be high. This is a team that is going to continue to dominate in the trenches on both sides of the ball. So the floor should be 11-1 this year.
Especially if, and this is a big if, but if BYU ends up going undefeated, right? They're going to have that Notre Dame win to their credit. So, obviously, if they go undefeated, there's no chance that they're not in the playoff either, obviously, or even 11-1. If they go 11-1, let's say, because I'm looking at their schedule now, they've got a pretty easy schedule themselves. They've got Arizona's a tough game, but they can beat them for sure. Mm-hmm. Sandwiched between Utah Tech, Colorado State. They get a bye. They get TCU for the Big 12 opener, and Sonny Dykes, who coming off a pair of 9-win seasons. I think people forget that. They've won 9 years, 2 years in a row. It doesn't feel like TCU's done that, but they have.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, because I think the national championship set the bar so high, people look at him as a big letdown now, when really it's just balanced out to 9 wins, I think, for now, 8 or 9 wins for them. Iowa State's going to be the worst team maybe in football, I think, until they're proven otherwise.
Yep.
Then you go to Notre Dame, a team that's going to be a top 5 team all year, potential national champion, 100%. Quarterback could be a Heisman winner. UCF is going to be, a bottom team in the Big 12. Arizona State can beat you. Utah can beat you. Baylor, Kansas, and Cincinnati to end it. So you've only got 2 or 3 two or three bombs there for you to potentially step on. Mines is the word I was looking for. But so if you get to a situation where it's down to you guys, you're both 11-1, the winner could get in, the loser could be in trouble, maybe.
Oh, 1,000%. Because here's what will
especially
happen.
If they've got a Notre Dame win.
Yeah, if BYU, well, I would say if BYU has a Notre Dame win, both teams in the Big 12 conference or in the title game in that case, 11-1, 12-0 Texas Tech, 11-1 BYU with a win against Notre Dame. I would argue both of them get in. But if BYU's one loss is to Notre Dame and Texas Tech gets there with one conference loss, doesn't matter to who, one conference loss, I don't think both teams are getting in. I think that's a playoff game. That's an absolute playoff game.
What a horrible nightmare for the Big 12 that happens in.
Yeah, no, your mark would not be happy sitting in the stadium knowing that one of those teams is not going to make it. So
yeah, it's crazy, but that's what we need to root for. We need to root for at least 2 Big 12 teams to get in, to maximize our chances to get deeper, so that we can potentially get more teams in down the road. You're never going to get the equity for more teams to get in unless you just prove it out there on the field. And
right.
the thing, and here's and last point, and then I'll let you go. One of the things that does worry me about Texas Tech being the team, it's kind of working in reverse of some of the other points we've made tonight, where, Texas Tech is kind of in this situation where it's a fifth ceiling. If Texas Tech goes out there and wins the national championship, does it really benefit the Big 12? Because it's such an outlier with what you're spending and everything. Does it really represent the rest of the conference like another team winning it would? I would argue that that's what people would say. Oh, it's Texas Tech. They're clearly the best team in the league. The Big 12 still sucks. Like, that's potentially possible.
I can get that. That just sounds like a hater's argument. If we're being honest, that's like, the SEC.
It's out there.
Everybody that they're better than everybody, but they haven't been in the national title for the last 3 years.
Right.
So, if the haters want to come out because Tech is, blitzes everybody in the Big 12 and wins the national championship, that's the whole reason the playoff exists. You got to go win 3 games against top 12 teams to prove you are the best team. Yeah. So you can say whatever you want about the conference, but if they go do that, you're just being a hater. That's all. But you absolutely need a tentpole team. You've got to have a team that is the clear favorite almost every year to establish that baseline. That rises all boats, in my opinion. So no matter what happens, if Tech were to go 13, 16-0 and win a national championship, it would absolutely elevate the entire Big 12, whether they want to admit it or not.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if people were making that argument, it would just be an off-season kind of BS, right? I get it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's been fun talking with you. Really appreciate you for coming on. Got to have you on Locked On West Virginia, especially when we play Texas Tech this year. I like to talk to Chris Level as well. But, I mean, that's only one day of that week. I do, multiple shows anyway. So I like to get multiple opinions on things. Would love to have you on for one of those outlooks this year, and maybe we'll figure something else out. But it's been fun having you on. Shane Jackson had to leave so soon. He had another show scheduled. I guess I don't know if you forgot about it or maybe we just ran over. I'm so long-winded, but we appreciate you for coming on, bro. It's been fun, and we'll be looking forward to seeing what Will Hammond becomes. Obviously, there and Red Raider Nation is behind that, as well as some other things as far as how this all plays out with the relationship with the Big 12 and currently the flagship team in the league. So hopefully things get better. Would definitely love to see the Big 12 stabilize as a league. I mean, you guys are obviously one of the originals basically at this point. So, we need you guys to be here. So thanks for coming on, man. It's been great. It's been great. And let everybody know where they can find you. We got people on all 3 or 4 different places watching us here. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I, again, really appreciate it, man. It's been a ton of fun. Best place to find me is on X. Handle is CFP, the number 4_us. That came from a failed blog launch on my own, trying to claim the college football playoff back for the fans, losing out on a voice for what the sport has become. But it's clear the money is going to always drive that. But nonetheless, the soul and the heartbeat of the sport comes from the fans. So that's where the handle comes from for anyone looking. So not going to find me searching anything Texas Tech related. But come find me. I'll come chat. I was mixing it up with Texas fans during that bit of the offseason. We'll mix it up with anybody in the Big 12. I love the sport. I enjoy interacting with a ton of fan bases. So really appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, man. And Jackson has entered back in again. We'll go ahead and bring you back on and say goodbye to Andrew. Jackson, we're already done.
Yep. I'm so sorry I left early tonight. It was like I had scheduled show 8:10 p.m. Central, 9:10 p.m. Eastern. I was like, oh man, note to self.
So you're saying me and Andrew are so long-winded that not only did we start before your show began, we were still talking after it was over.
Yeah, I had no idea, but it was like, oh man, but but I will say, tell your friends, your family, and the cashiers at Pubs about the magic Andrew McCleary.
The cashiers at Publix
at Red Raiders Wire.
Love a pub sub. Love a pub.
We have sheets around here. I mean, we're weird in West Virginia,
Hey man, so I live in Maryland, so Sheets, Wawa, Royal Farms, like
they're all similar.
Got them all.
Buc-ee's is similar.
Yeah. But I did live in South Carolina for 3 years. Previous life, I was in the military. I was stationed in Charleston. So very familiar with Publix. Love a good pub sub.
What branch?
Yes, Air Force.
Air Force. Okay. I was in 0621 in the Marine Corps.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
A comms guy. Yeah, that was way back when, though. I mean, if your formative years were during the Rich Rod, Pat White years, then you were definitely formative. When I was in the military in 2003 when I went in. So, but yeah, I'm older than probably than I look, but yeah, it's been fun having you on, man.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it, guys. Thanks again.
Guys, make sure you check out Andrew McCleary at Red Raider Wire.
That's correct.
Okay.
Red Raiders Wire.
All right. We're going to bounce, guys. We'll be back with another one probably tomorrow here on College Sports Insiders, almost at Locked On West Virginia again. And we'll see you guys on the next one here where we always want you to remember to cue those country roads, even though this is College Sports Insiders.
Do.